360 exclusive with a former fighter for the Wagner Group who has defected. As you know, Wagner Group is a mercenary force run by Jewgeni Prighozin, a Russian oligarch close to Vladimir Putin. The U.S. has labeled Wagner a transnational criminal organization which has been heavily involved in the war in Ukraine and has been heavily recruiting from Russian prisons. Wagner has taken credit for recent gains in the areas around Bakhmut. There's been a lot of reports of fatalities among Wagner's poorly trained and equipped convicts, and reports that those who refuse to fight or attempt to escape are executed as a warning to others. One Wagner fighter who defected to Ukrainian forces and then was sent back to Russia as part of a prisoner exchange was then executed on camera with a sledgehammer. Now a man named Andrej Medwedew, claiming to have defected from the Wagner Group, has crossed into Norway and has just been released after being interviewed by Norwegian officials. He's hoping to receive asylum there. Andrej, an orphan, spent 4 years in prison in Russia for robbery before joining the Wagner Group, and we should note his service in Wagner was confirmed by its leader, Prighozin. I spoke to Andrej Medwedew before airtime. If you could just talk a little bit about what it was like in the battle, on the battlefield with the prisoners. How were they used? What were the tactics? What was it like?
Ну, скажу так, у нас определенной тактики не было.
We weren't receiving any tactical plans. We just got a command to capture the position of the enemy, and by ourselves had to come up with a step-by-step plan of how to fulfill it. It was our problem to ensure that a command is fulfilled.
You have said in the past that you saw Wagner troops getting executed for disobeying orders. Is that accurate?
Ну, такие случаи, они
Such cases happen very often there. There is a question of how to persuade new recruits who arrived at the front lines and saw what is going on there and decided they don't want to fight to still go ahead and fight. They would round up those who did not want to fight and shoot them in front of the newcomers to develop their self-preservation instinct.
Why did you decide to leave the Wagner Group?
Ну, я как уже
I
говорил.
planned to leave Wagner for a while, but I didn't have the opportunity. I was afraid I will be captured and shot as a traitor. I am ready for serious action, but I also want to live. By the end, I knew they won't let me go. I will return as part of the dead or the wounded. It was time to make a radical decision. If it wasn't for my guys, my comrades, I would have been buried at some training ground.
There have been allegations and reports of the execution of civilians, civilians being shot, just walking down the street, of abuse of civilians. Did you see any of that? Did you witness any of that?
Нет, я не могу сказать то, что я...
I cannot say I witnessed this because I was tasked mainly with forested areas and approaches to Bakhmut. I am not aware of such cases. No matter what, we had a strict code of conduct for fighters. If those rules are breached, there will be punishment.
You escaped into Norway, and the spot where you crossed over, where you said that you crossed over into Norway, it's very heavily guarded on the Russian border. And some people have raised questions about how you were able to even get to the border because it's so heavily, there's so many checkpoints on the way there. Why cross at that place where it was so heavily guarded?
Ну, я скажу, да.
I will say that the border with Norway, where I crossed, is not as protected as much as the border with Finland. But in this case, I am honestly very grateful for the training I received with the Ministry of Russian Defense, where I did military service, and grateful to Wagner. The training I received there came in useful, and I gladly put it to use.
Did you have help getting across? Because aren't there many checkpoints even to get close to the border?
Да, я в первую
I was helped by workers of human rights groups in Moscow and elsewhere, even just civilians who heard my story. When I was approaching the last post next to the border, I was helped by a man from Murmansk who found a passport of a man who looked similar to me. I am very grateful to him, but cannot disclose his identity for his safety. The passport helped me to get past the control post, and I was able to get closer to the border.
Why have you agreed to talk? Why do you, what message are you trying to, do you want people to know about Wagner, about your experience?
Ну, знаете, я изначально как бы...
My idea was to tell the people what was happening there, and my mates who died there, they died under orders. So my aim is that the people who are guilty of these crimes should be brought to justice.
And when you say the people who are guilty, who do you mean, and what are they guilty of?
Знаете, я...
You know, I would like to take this opportunity of stating publicly. Maybe other folk have different views about this, but the first culprit is Prighozin, because he is the top leader.
Prighozin runs the Wagner Group. He's in charge of it.
Пригожин непосредственно...
Yes, him, absolutely, and the whole coordinating Wagner lot. And everyone knows it's subject to the Russian government's commands, the whole lot of them.
Does that include Vladimir Putin?
Ну, о тесных связях все мы...
Well, everyone knows that what is happening there is his decision, of course.
происходит.
And just finally, Andrej, you lost a lot of, as you say, mates in the fighting. What should their mothers know? What should their families know about what happened to them?
Это были великие люди.
They were great people, great because they were real human beings, and I can assure you that many were sober judges of what was happening out there. They were just people, normal folk, and that applied to the other side as well, because I had occasion to see the bravery of the Ukrainian forces too.
Andrej, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Вам спасибо.
Thank you.